Former President Joe Biden receives support and questions about transparency amid a cancer diagnosis. It is Illinois in Focus. I'm Greg Bishop, live with you each and every weekday morning here on YouTube with The Center Square. Go to thecentersquare.com, get the newsletter, get the podcast, and all of the headlines, including on our national page. You'll see this headline, Biden receives support, and also questions about transparency amid cancer diagnosis. Let's check this out because Governor J.B. Pritzker also responding to this. In particular, with a message of hope. So we'll pull this up here, and you can see my notes as I get ready to launch and have different links. Governor Pritzker says President Biden knows that when you get knocked down, you get back up and fight. I join the nation in sending strength to President Biden and his family and hope for a full recovery. We're with you in this fight, Joe. So back to the story here from Casey Harper yesterday. All right, so leaders in both political parties showing support for former President Joe Biden after Biden announced that he's dealing with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Biden's personal office released a statement Sunday saying that he had prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9. With metastases in the bone. Cancer touches us all, the former president wrote. Like so many of you, Jill and I have learned that we are strongest in the broken places. Thank you for lifting us up with love and support. The former presidents received outpouring support, even former President Barack Obama to President Donald Trump. But you've got questions being raised here. Trump wrote on his son, Trump Jr. wrote on X, I want to know did Dr. Jill Biden miss stage 5 metastatic cancer, or is this just another cover-up? So people are already raising those questions. J.D. Vance, the vice president, told reporters that the American people should have a little bit more transparency on this about the president's health last year. He said, in some ways, I blame him less than I blame the people around him. You can separate the desire for him to have the right health outcome with the recognition that whether it was doctors or whether there were staffers around the former president, I don't think he was able to do a good job for the American people. And that's not politics. And that's not because I disagree with him on policy. That's because I don't think that he was in good health, Vance said. So the messages of support continue to pour out. Again, President Trump saying that he and Melania, the First Lady, are saddened to hear about Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and deepest wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery. And the timing of all of this, too, is interesting because there have been books coming out about people are saying was the cover-up of Biden's health. His cognitive abilities, the staffers that were around him not being forthright. Now there's questions about whether the White House doctor was doing an appropriate job or if the doctor was covering things up. Because you look at the timeline of, in 2020, Biden announced he's going to run. He said that he's going to be a transitional president. And then at the end of his term, after he won, decided he was going to run again, and that kind of threw people for a loop. And then a few months later, he decides, no, he's going to not run again, and that was after the primary season. And then they installed Vice President Kamala Harris to be the Democrat nominee. At that time, Biden's cognitive abilities were on display, and the White House was calling it deep fakes. And a lot of the corporate media were saying, Biden's the best Biden we've ever seen. But after the election and after all, we see months later, you get books coming out saying, well, that wasn't the case. And there was a lack of transparency. So Governor J.B. Pritzker, before the cancer diagnosis of Biden was announced, he was asked last week to kind of respond to some of the concerns that there have been about the cognitive ability of President Biden and what kinds of responsibility Democrats have for promulgating that lack of transparency. Here's the governor last week at an unrelated news conference.
I realize, Mark, welcome back. I realize that reporters who are covering the wide world want to go back and relitigate what happened in 2024 and examine every little thing. And there's a book that came out that's suggesting that there was cognitive decline. Look, all I can tell you is every interaction I had with President Biden demonstrated to me a man who has more empathy than any other president that I've known in my lifetime since I was born, and somebody who has done quite a lot in 50 plus years of service, working in the public interest, and has accomplished so much. And frankly, when we look back at those 4 years, everybody has different opinions and maybe voted differently, voted for him or against him, but a whole lot was accomplished in a very, very difficult time. I'll just remind you that in 2020, I've starting to see deaths.
So you got the governor talking about 2020, and then he starts talking about the battle he had, and you can go and look at the archives at the Center Square about all of this. Pritzker would come out during the pandemic at his daily news conferences and slam the podium and yell at then President Donald Trump to get ventilators, and lots of ventilators, and urged the president to use the War Powers Act to take over factories to make more ventilators. And so he kind of reflected on that a little bit, but ultimately saying that, hey, all the conversations he's had with Biden were, he was on his game. So is there going to be more fallout from this? I fully anticipate there will be, especially as we get more information of what exactly transpired in the Biden White House around the president's health. So the issue could come up for the next election. Of course, we got primaries in 2026. And then the election in 2026 for the midterms. Then after that, it's going to be a mad sprint to 2028. And Democrats might have to talk about how they can avoid similar problems of a lack of trust and transparency when it comes to the issues of President Biden and what we've seen over the past 3-4 years. All right, it's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning to get the latest on what's going on in the land of Lincoln.